This is Don DeBartolo, a senior commodities broker and market strategist with Daniels Trading in Chicago. I'm also the trader behind the Trade Spotlight advisory service. Trade Spotlight is broken up into three segments: Trade Spotlight Futures, Commodity Options, and Futures Spreads. This is Beyond the Spotlight, a video that will spotlight two or three markets that may become trading opportunities this week. This week begins with Monday, September 21st, 2020. Please pause the video and read the disclosures to understand the risks involved with futures and commodity options trading. Jumping right into our first chart, this is the December 2020 British pound contract. Make sure you rolled over all of your September currency contracts into December. That's what we'll begin trading today. So what I have here on this chart is a lower trend line drawn off with at least two touches, the 12-month contract low and recently a pivot point low. There was nearly a touch here near the end of June. Obviously more touches, the stronger the trend line. You can see today's trading session, we're back down touching this trend line, but what I want to see first is a close below the trend line and then perhaps a break of this pivot point low. That pivot point low was from September 11th. The low is 127.68. You can see there's a 200-day moving average coming across at 127.86. So I'd like to see the market below there. Again, this is all just for more confirmation. We already have momentum turning over to the downside. This is my stochastic indicator. Taking a look at the trend, it's a bit flat right here, which kind of makes sense with the sideways trading action we've had the last week or so. But perhaps on the close below this trend line or a break of this pivot point low, you start to see the trend flip over. Potential stop losses would go above these recent highs in the 130 even mark. First downside target is a potential support level coming in. I drew this line across. It's also near the 50% Fibonacci retracement of the 12-month contract low and the recent high put in. That comes in at 124.69. So perhaps a target of about 125 even or so for the December 2020 British pound. Jumping over to the second chart, this is the November 2020 feeder cattle. I have a 1, 2, 3 top formation shown here, but it's a mid-level formation. This is not the 12-month contract high. Typically your number one point is a 12-month contract high, but we were higher back in January, February, March. In January we were as high as 157.22 half. That was the 15th of January. Then we had the coronavirus pandemic. Market sold off all the way down to about 114, and it's since come back. You can see we traded about 150 about the beginning of August. But this mid-level 1, 2, 3 uses the most recent high, this pivot point low, and this recent rally here that's found some strong resistance. What I'm looking to do then is sell this contract on a break down potentially of this pivot point low from Thursday's trading session. So we had a nice sell-off there following the momentum, and then there was a pullback on Friday with an inside day, but it's weak with the week close. So looking for some more downside here soon. So this may be a trade that goes out, Monday at the latest. So keep your eyes out for the November 2020 feeder cattle trade. If this pivot point low is broken, it will also take out a 20-day moving average. If you want to play this a little more conservative, you can wait for a break of this number 2 point. That low right there is 137.90. It is possible the market finds some support along this 200-day moving average. But if we can break through this number 2 point, I believe we can get down to this support level here, about the 132 price level, especially if we get some momentum building to the downside. Right now, the MACD indicator, or trend indicator, is flat. Again, we have some sideways trading action minus these two extremes here. So potentially this trend can turn lower, especially if you break this lower number 2 point. So that's November 2020 feeder cattle. And moving along to the third chart today, this is the December 2020 cotton. Still have that lower trend line. Still hasn't broken it yet. I've covered this chart a couple times, I think, already in these videos. Just waiting for a break of that lower trend line. I'll be patient. I'll wait the market out. Has been making some higher highs, but eventually I think the market's going to close below this trend line and then really take off to the downside. There's a seasonal for cotton as well in this time period. Close below this lower trend line puts it near a 20-day moving average and a 50-day moving average and a 200-day moving average. So playing a little more conservative, we can wait for a close or a break of these levels. There's also the last touch on the lower trend line there that comes in at 63.40 on September 9th. So perhaps a break of that level will get this market moving to the downside. Stop losses would go above these recent highs here, about the 67 mark. For a downside target, there's a lot on the chart here. I may look to this 12-month contract low, and that comes in at 50.18 from the 2nd of April. So potential for cotton, just keeping it on our watch list. The moment it closes below that lower trend line, I want to get involved selling the contract. Some honorable mentions. Usually I only show 3 charts, but I want you to keep eyes on crude oil. We're currently in a crude oil put spread, and it looks like that market's set to roll over again after it hit a brief resistance point, or had a brief rally and hit this resistance point. Crude oil looks to be rolling back over, so I already have the put position on there. Perhaps you can add if you're not into that position. And then the coffee market looks to be bottoming out, looking for an opportunity to buy coffee, most likely with a call spread in that market. So a couple honorable mentions. This is what the Trade Spotlight looks like. It's an email service, so it goes directly into your inbox. You'll have the timestamp so you know when the trade recommendation is sent out. You'll get a write-up of the trade, the precise entry and exit orders so you know the risk-reward parameters for each trade. You can always tweak these to fit your trading style. Any pertinent information like margin requirements, expiration dates, and a chart that you can enlarge. If you are not following the Trade Spotlight, I encourage you to do so. You can go to the Daniels Trading webpage, click on Advisories, and then under Technical Analysis, you'll find Trade Spotlight. You can read more about it, take a look at some recent posts, and then subscribe. It's a free resource to clients of mine. Otherwise, I provide a 90-day trial offer. If you have any questions on the 3 charts or the 2 notables that I mentioned, especially the crude oil that we're already in, if you want to add that one to your account, we can do that. Reach me at local cell or toll-free numbers. You can also email at tradespotlight@danielstrading.com. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video today. Happy trading.